Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Welcome to the show. I'm Lisa Williams. Today, we have someone that calls herself a wealthy yogi. Being a wealthy yogi is how she lives her life. Dr. Roshawnna Novellus is a wealth and mindfulness multiplier. She is a business strategist and author that uses smarter financial decisions, mindfulness, compassion, entrepreneurship, and create a fabulous life for her clients. Dr. Novellus believes that you should lead your life with intention. She helps those who are drowning in clutter, overscheduled, overwhelmed, always rushing, losing sleep, and are constantly under pressure. She wholeheartedly believes that finances do not have to be stressful and that having a solid financial strategy is the key to successfully reaching business goals. Dr. Novellus holds a Doctor of Science in Systems Engineering with a minor in finance from George Washington University. She holds a Master of Science in Information Technology, emphasizing Information Systems Engineering, a Bachelor's of Arts in Business Management Economics, and a Bachelor's of Science in Computer Engineering, achieving summa cum laude in each. This woman is educated. As a federally licensed enrolled agent, she represents taxpayers in front of the IRS and has also passed the Series 7 exam. Dr. Novellus is a member of many professional organizations, including the National Association of Tax Professionals and the National Association of Enrolled Agents. Her financial firm, Novellus Financial, provides business consulting and financial strategy to small and mid-level businesses interested in hands-on assistance in maximizing wealth and reaching their goals. Dr. Novellus is also the co-founder of Bootstrap Capital, which assists deserving, diverse dreamers and those wanting to invest in the innovation ecosystem to accomplish their dreams. Dr. Novellus offers a form of yogic finance that combines the mental and physical elements of yoga to reduce stress, improve self-confidence, enhance creativity, and boost happiness. Please welcome to the show, Dr. Novellus.
Thank you so much for having me on your show.
We're glad to have you. Well, let's get started. Today, we're going to talk about the growing number of Black women in business, how we've evolved, and what it'll take to help African American women in business run successful businesses. Let's get started. Black women have always had an entrepreneurial spirit. From our great-grandmothers who cleaned houses for a living and sold fish dinners at churches, to the many African American women who rose to the tops of their industries, including Michelle Obama, the first African American First Lady of the United States, Sheila C. Johnson, founder of BET, becoming the first African American woman billionaire, Oprah Winfrey, having the #1 daytime talk show in America, Serena Williams, #1 in women's singles tennis, Janice Bryant, owner of the largest minority woman-owned employment agency in the United States, and Ursula Burns, the first African-American woman CEO of a Fortune 500 company. And of course, the list goes on and on. In fact, according to the 2015 State of Women-Owned Business Report, the number of women-owned businesses grew by 74% between 1997 and 2015. The report also stated that 33% of women-owned firms are owned by minority women, and Black females are amongst the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs in the U.S. It's wonderful to know that African American women entrepreneurs are the fastest growing segment of entrepreneurs in the U.S. What a great statistic. So it's important that we don't let this momentum die. Now, more than ever, African American women entrepreneurs need resources available to help them not just be in business, but grow in business. The biggest hurdle African American women business owners face is that many are first-generation entrepreneurs, and they lack exposure to other Black women in business that have successful businesses from which they can glean habits and proven processes from. Let's look at an example of just how important having a role model accessible to you can be. Here is what Jessica Alba, actress and CEO of The Honest Company, said about having someone that you can call on.
As far as mentors go, countless. I was not shy about making phone calls to many people. I've been fortunate enough to know people like Tory Burch and Diane von Furstenberg, and they, got lots of emails and phone calls from me along the way with tears in my eyes saying, I don't know if this is possible. Why is everyone telling me no? What do I do? What does it even mean to get venture capital? What is venture capital? What's a board? I just didn't know all these business terms. And so they helped me understand it. And it's nice having women that you can look to and rely on.
Incidentally, her husband, Cash Warren, a Yale graduate, producer, and tech investor, introduced Jessica to his childhood friend, Brian Lee, an entrepreneur who co-founded LegalZoom. And the women Jessica reached out to, Tory Burch, who is a New York fashion designer, and Diane von Furstenberg, who is a billion-dollar fashion designer. Unfortunately, most African-American women don't have the same access and connections that Jessica Alba was blessed with. Black female entrepreneurs need a supportive network of African-American women business owners that we can learn from. It's time to talk, share, and provide resources and roadmaps to Black women in business. We need successful mentors to inspire African-American women on their journey in business. I have lined up a variety of successful, prominent, and leading African-American women in business across many industries to share their paths and secrets to their success. They will discuss their journey not only as women in business, but more importantly, how they grew successful businesses in spite of the unique challenges faced by African-American women business owners. Forgive my cloudy voice, but the show must go on. So let's get into the show.
How do you feel, Dr. Novellus, about being a part of this historical time for African-American women in business?
It is important. Every time before us was important, but being here today and manifesting our dreams and changing society is of crucial importance.
I agree. Yes. So let's learn a bit about you. A good story isn't a good story until we can understand where you started. How'd you get started in business?
Well, I started off as engineering. I know you went through a lot of my degrees, and I found out that many people had no understanding of finances. I had coworkers who would come to me to figure out what to invest in their 401k. So they asked me, what should I do? What is your advice? I also ended up going to a lot of my friends' closings when they bought their first house when I was younger. And so when I moved to Atlanta several years ago, I decided that I wanted to start a business in an area that I was really passionate in. And the lack of financial literacy is the main problem, that the main reason why there's divorce, that people are stressed out, that people cannot reach their dreams is because they do not know how to allocate their money. So because of this, I decided that it was time to move into this area for my own business.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you went from engineering to finance. Was there a kind of a correlation there?
Well, I've always loved numbers, but I also always had a financial background. I was fortunate enough that my mother started taking me to investment meetings when I was 12. She was a high school teacher, and the teachers at her school had an investment club meeting, and I would go with her every month. So by the time I was 18, I had my own portfolio. I knew how to invest. I had a healthy savings, and I carried that knowledge throughout my life. So by the time that I was in school, working, I just knew more than most people, and it surprised me that I had this head start on so many individuals. And because my mother taught me about money at such a young age, that spurred me to apply to 200 scholarships, and I won over $600,000 to pay for all of these degrees that I obtained. And so
wow, wait, let's stop right there. You're talking about college money? Over $200,000 awarded?
I was awarded $600,000.
600.
Yes, $600,000, which paid for all of my degrees. So
and how did you do that again? Please share that with my audience.
I applied to as many scholarships as I could find in high school. Back then, we still went to libraries, so there were scholarship books in the library. And I applied to the Rotary Club of Hawaii and every sorority and every little scholarship. Most people only apply to the full scholarship, but a lot of organizations have $500 scholarships or $1,000 scholarships, and they end up awarding the scholarship to every single person that applies. And I received tons of scholarships like that in addition to some larger ones. So in fact, I won many more scholarship dollars than I was actually able to use because of this process. But I told my mother,
and this paid for your entire college, all of those degrees we just went over.
Yes.
Amazing. Wow. And so how did you have time to do any schoolwork if you were writing letters and applying for scholarships all through high school? When did you start?
Well, most of those I applied to my senior year of high school, and there are only 2 additional that I applied to while I was in college. I applied to the Gates Millennium Scholarship in their inaugural year, and I was awarded that. And that was one of the best scholarship programs ever because it paid for 5 years of undergrad, 2 years for your master's program, and 5 years for your doctorate. So after I won that scholarship, I pretty much had a full ride for the rest of my education.
Please share the secret. What did you write? How'd you do it? What'd you say?
I was very well-rounded. I was valedictorian and captain of the cheer squad and homecoming queen. I was all of this, all of these things.
Okay.
I know it's really difficult for students to differentiate themselves now, but having the volunteer work and just being determined. You don't have to be valedictorian. There's lots of scholarships that are awarded to people who are B-average students. But you have to be intentional about your goals and stick to it. I did not enjoy writing all those letters and mailing out all of the application requests, but I did it because that was a goal of mine. I promised my mother that she would not worry about my higher education, and I knew I was going to achieve that. So
thank you so much for sharing that. That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that still ties right into the financial expert that you are. So tell us, who do you work with and how do you help them?
Well, with Novellus Financial, I primarily work with smaller businesses, those businesses that have between $2 and $10 million in revenue, and I help them reach their goals, whether they be to expand, to hire new staff, to increase operational efficiency, and I stay on as a business strategist, a tax strategist, and an overall balancing guru, I would say. Yes, and through the Wealthy Yogi business, I pair both the mindfulness side and the financial strategy side for the everyday entrepreneur. So I offer retreats and online courses and books as well to help individuals reach their goals.
Excellent, excellent. So, wow, finances. And so when you're helping a business between $2 million and $10 million, what types of things do you help them with?
A lot of time, business owners do not keep money on top of mind, so they have no idea what programs are most efficient for them. And I really start out with saying, what's important to you? What kind of lifestyle do you want to lead? What are your target clients? And I help them get a clearer picture on how their business relates to their clients and how they can be more efficient by eliminating a lot of the wasteful activities that they do. So we start off with this session that goes through all of these steps. And then on an ongoing basis, I make sure that they stick to their strategy and come out financially ahead.
Nice. And what about for the yogis?
So during my retreat, I have the yoga asana practice and meditation paired with financial strategy sessions and mastermind sessions. And I do all of this because I believe that all decisions should be made from a place of mindfulness and presence. And once you're able to eliminate all your distractions and noise, you tend to make better decisions. You know what's important to you. You know which way you want to go. And at that point in time, you should start planning for your future.
And so for the everyday entrepreneur that isn't at a $2 million level, what types of services and what do you direct them? How do you direct them with their business?
Well, like I said, we have the retreats. I have programs that appeal, like group sessions for these kinds of entrepreneurs. And we kind of go through a similar process, but it's not on the one-to-one basis. It's more in a group setting. So still going through, what are your goals? Who's your target audience? What is the pricing of your service? What is your ideal lifestyle? Because a lot of times when new entrepreneurs start a business, they start just based on their passion. This is what I like to do. But they don't connect the dots and saying, how much of this do I have to do to reach my ideal revenue? Do I have to work 22 hours a day to have enough clients to reach the revenue?
And 2 hours of sleep is enough.
Right. So a lot of new entrepreneurs don't go through these processes. So I have a lot of different steps and exercises that I lead them through to help them reach their objectives and have a clear understanding of their true desires, their true wishes, their true business, so that they can stay in business and be successful.
And I'm going to ask you some questions later on to delve into that a little further. But what do you find real or perceive that your clients have that may or may not be true, that they think that may or may not be true about their business?
Well, a lot of entrepreneurs think they can look at their money later or worry about their expenses later, and they don't realize that without cash flow, they're going out of business. So a lot of entrepreneurs just do not prioritize looking at their finances. There's so many companies, especially LLCs, that have no idea how much profit they make. And in fact, when they file their tax return the next year, that's the first time they're looking at their books. And that is a disservice to the business. And that is the main thing that I see. And it's horrible. It's like, you don't know what you've been wasting money on. You don't know what's working in your business. You need to know if this marketing strategy is working, or this networking event, or this conference, or whatever you're doing. You need to know what's working so that you modify your business in a way that's most efficient for you. So that's the number one issue that I find. The number two issue is a lot of entrepreneurs don't want to share the inner workings of their business and how they feel with others. I recommend that all business owners have an accountability partner or an accountability group to bounce ideas off on. You can seclude yourself and you might not be able to see the answer, whereas other entrepreneurs in the same boat as you could help you quickly get out of a rut and provide a quick solution so that you can shift, navigate, and get on to your path so much quicker. So that's also a huge area that I think that most entrepreneurs don't jump on at an earlier stage in their business. Yeah.
And again, we talked about the higher level businesses. We talked about the entrepreneurs. Is there a industry in particular, or anybody that you work with specifically, women, law, lawyers, anything specific?
So I focus on technology companies, real estate investors, and entertainment industry, although I do have several attorney clients as well.
Okay. And do you find some of the challenges straight across the board, across all of those industries, are similar or different?
They're pretty similar. Actually, the entertainment industry is the most unpredictable because they have a lot of short-term projects, moving parts, and no notice, so there's not a lot of planning that goes on in those kind of businesses. So they need to be even more diligent about setting aside time to manage their finances and do their planning of their cash flow in order to balance all of the chaotic side out. But other than that, all of the industries have a lot in common.
Okay. And one last business question before we move into the interview with regard to African American women. What do you feel is the first thing that a business, an entrepreneur should start with when they say, I want to be in business?
The first thing is to figure out who is going to pay you and how long it's going to take. Mm-hmm. That will change everything in terms of your planning, figuring out how much capital you need, but you need to know those two critical questions first.
Okay, excellent. So let's jump into specific to African American women. So as an African American woman in business, I'd like to know what you did to navigate your entrepreneurship. What can you share with other Black business women about starting, staying, and sticking it through to reach a level of success for their business?
So when I transferred from corporate to full-time entrepreneurship, I made sure that I had a consulting contract in place before I quit my corporate job because I wanted that revenue, that ongoing revenue day one. So I made sure that happened prior to transitioning. And then staying in business, making sure I was on top of my cash flow, having those accountability partners, and really staying mindful. I'm big on the mindfulness practice. We all have ebbs and flows in our business, and we have to realize that it doesn't last forever. The ruts do not last forever. We need to learn to be flexible and move on. So staying stuck is not where you can live if you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah, definitely. So, Dr. Novellus, tell us, what was hard for you? I mean, honestly, think about one of the most challenging times in your business. What was hard for you, and how did you overcome it?
The most difficult part was initially I partnered with someone else, and that partnership failed quickly within about 3 months. So I had to recover. All the planning that I'd done and forecasting had to be thrown out the window. And I had to start over from scratch while I was actually in the business, right? Sure. It's one thing to be able to plan when you're not actually executing at the same time, but it's another thing when you're balancing so many hats and so many things in the air. But it taught me a lot about staying flexible, keeping the positive mindset, and pushing forward.
Right. Wow. So we have other African American women that have accomplished great successes, like those I mentioned earlier. Other ones such as Taraji P. Henson, Kamala Harris, Shonda Rhimes, and countless others. Can you share a nugget to help women that are just starting in business?
It's hard for everyone. Stay positive.
Yeah. Yeah, and how do you do that? I mean, women have a lot of responsibility, pressure. They have basically a full-time job many times, either as a wife, a mother, if they're single, if they're trying to date. So starting a business, what can you say to them in terms of staying positive?
Well, no one can make you happy but yourself. So figure out what it is that invigorates you, like your self-care regimen. I personally love to work out and to meditate. Every time I work out, I feel at peace, I'm present, I don't have any noise, and then I'm able to go back into my work, into my goals with a clear mind. So even if you take 5 minutes out of your day to meditate, or 5 minutes of quality time by yourself to sit outside on the patio before you go back in, that tends to reset your stress level and allow you to be able to focus on what matters to you.
Yes. And in terms of a business practice, what would you say, what nugget would you share in starting a business?
I would say to automate as much as possible. figure out all of the points in the process where you either have to engage with clients or engage with vendors and figure out how you can take yourself out of the process so that you don't create bottlenecks, and use all of the tools that are available so that you can minimize the time that you actually have to spend doing mundane tasks. You should spend your time on the things that require your skills, your expertise, and have a high return on investment for your business.
And what would you say is most important to have a successful business?
Staying on top of your money and staying on the path to your strategic plans. I recommend that all businesses have a 90-day plan and a 5-year plan. And every 90 days, you create a new one, and you make sure that at least weekly you look at it and say, hey, am I leading my business in alignment with my plan? And if not, why?
Absolutely. So you're an interesting blend. You're kind of a business coach and a tax strategist and a financial expert all mixed in one.
That's one way to say it, yes.
What would you say? What would you say?
A business strategist, and I believe that mindfulness should be injected in everything that we do. So it's not, I don't compartmentalize these elements. And to be successful in business, you need to be on top of your, finance and your strategy, and your taxes are a critical part of your financial strategy for your business. So to me, they're all related, but I know that a lot of people only focus on a subset of those areas.
And typically have a different professional for each one of those.
Right.
Yeah. So, Dr. Novellus, if you could share something with your younger self, let's say your 15 years ago self, about being in business, what would it be?
To not focus on being perfect as much and to just start. You learn so much more by experience than by just imagining all the ways to do something.
Right. Analysis paralysis.
Yes.
All right. That's excellent. As I explained in the introduction, one of the greatest challenges African American women face in business is the lack of successful Black women role models in our communities. So let's talk now specifically about the unique challenges African American women business owners face. I'm going to list about 6 or 7 different topics very quickly, and if you would listen to them, I'm sure in some capacity you can relate to all of them. But let me know which one kind of jumps out at you, and if you could speak on that with regard to your life, I'd greatly appreciate that. So the first one is family. Maybe you had a family that didn't understand your entrepreneurial walk. Another one is role models. No one to call on. Unfortunately, many of us are first-time African-American business owners and don't necessarily have role models like the example of Jessica Alba. Business terms and just understanding how to run a business. I mean, we just spoke about that. Seeking capital. Many of us African-American women don't know how to go about that. Juggling being a single parent or a single woman. That's difficult in general for any race, any woman, but specifically there are challenges that African-American women have. Lacking relationships, investing in ourselves. We do not tend typically to develop ourselves with personal development seminars and training. And lastly, volunteering. Typically in our communities, the volunteering that we see is in our churches with our families and parents, and not necessarily us volunteering young and getting used to that and realizing the benefit of that. So did any of those jump out at you?
Yes, the one that jumped out to me the most was the being single and being an entrepreneur. You're more likely to be successful if you have a supportive relationship. And I've been single through most of my entrepreneurial experience, so that's why I lean more so on the my accountability partners and my mastermind group more than people that have a relationship, because I need that. Like who who's going to listen to me when I complain or when clients
Right.
get mad at me? Like, I need someone to give me feedback. And also, I can't just give up, right? A lot of times, if you have a supportive partner, if you're not bringing in money, your bills will still get paid. But that's not the case if you're single and you you depend on you completely.
Right.
So I have that luxury. But I knew I could still do it. But sometimes I kind of envious with people who have that. I'm like, I wish I had that. I wish I could just say, oh, I'm not going to get any clients this week, and I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, that safety net.
The safety net. But at
Wow.
the same time, it teaches you so much more by having to depend on yourself, and you know that you've achieved it on your own, you know? So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Wow. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So did you grow up with entrepreneurial examples? I think you said your mom was a teacher. Are you a first-generation entrepreneur?
Well, my parents were both teachers, but they also had several different businesses, from a fried chicken restaurant to apartment complexes to a photography business to a nightclub. So my whole life growing up, like after school, I would go to one of the businesses. So I remember being exposed to them. And as a child, I said, I never want to be an entrepreneur. You have to work all the time. And it's just funny how
How about that?
So, yeah.
So what changed that for you?
I've never been a person that needed to be in a box or needed someone else to tell me what to do. My last couple corporate jobs, I ran my own department. I had no one to report to. And my mother actually encouraged me. She said, Roshawnna, you're not an employee type of person. You always run your own show, so might as well do it for real. And I was like, oh, you're right. Let's go for it.
You make a good point there, Mom.
Yes. Yeah, I never dealt well with people micromanaging me or telling me what to do, ever. So, yes, so it was just like a natural in terms of my personality type.
Transition, yeah. So there are many articles online about entrepreneurs and their success stories or challenges they had to overcome, but there are very few current-day women, and I'm talking everyday women, not the celebrities, but very successful women in business, dentists and coaches and tax professionals and you name it, financial people. But there's not much out there on what they've gone through, and definitely not specific articles sharing what African-American women business owners have gone through. So what did you do when you got stuck, overwhelmed, ran out of money, or possibly felt like quitting?
I called the people that, in terms of my thinking about quitting, I called people that I knew wouldn't let me quit. So I have, luckily, this team of people who really believe in me. And whenever I feel like enough is enough, they encourage me and get me back centered. When I've run out of money, I had to be creative.
Yeah.
I had to learn how to be creative. And I was so rigid in corporate America because it was easy. When you have that paycheck every other week, you can set aside how much for savings and investments and all of that. And as long as you put that on autopilot, you're fine. But in business, things can change at a moment's notice. But I had to realize that sometimes you have to be uncomfortable for a brief period of time. But as long as you remain confident, trust in your services, trust in your ability, things tend to work out. But you have to stay on top of your money, have a cushion if possible, have different ways to access capital if possible. One mistake or I won't say it's a mistake, one thing that I didn't know before quitting corporate America was how difficult it was to qualify for loans when you don't have a standard paycheck. I'd never had a problem ever qualifying for anything. And then one day I didn't have that, but I was in business, and all of a sudden I wasn't a desirable candidate anymore.
Isn't that something?
Really?
Yeah.
Perfect credit, perfect everything, and still no? Oh,
Don't
okay.
want to take a chance on
Don't
you.
want to take a chance. So now I encourage everyone to at least figure out your credit options before you leave corporate America. It's very important.
Yeah, great nugget.
Yep.
So what didn't you have when you were building your business that you wish you would have had?
I wish I had a larger team of people helping me.
Mm-hmm.
As an entrepreneur, you have to wear so many hats, from, HR to business development to procurement. And in corporate America, there are people who do each one of those tasks. So I wish I had a larger team, and so that I could be more focused on the areas that are most efficient for me. So yeah, that's what I would change.
Okay. So let's have a little fun now. I'm going to complain for a moment, but we're going to get past it.
Okay.
So our black businessmen, they're showing us out, and that's not going to work. Tyler Perry has shared his homeless to success story. Eric Thomas, the motivational hip-hop preacher, has the homeless to PhD story. So us ladies, we've got to get our stories out and document it so African-American women in business have some inspiration when they're feeling low, when they're searching online, and to find out what other women did in challenging times. So together, Dr. Novellus, I would like to create either your rags to riches story or your hero story. So you start, and I'll jump in, and ultimately we want to kind of come up with a tagline for you, but what resonates with you, a hero story or a rags to riches story?
Huh.
I know. We're going to do it together. Don't worry.
Let's say hero, maybe.
Okay. So from what to what? What'd you do? Where'd you come from?
So I came from San Diego. I don't know. This is difficult.
Think in terms of, okay, let's go. You started out young going to financial, what were they, seminars?
Yes, I started going to investment clubs with my mom in high school.
Okay, so from a high school investor to a financial expert. I mean, you know what I mean? Something within that area.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll create a nice tagline for you, but yeah,
right.
From this to that.
And I'm very passionate because women are actually more likely to be successful at business than men. It's just that there's so few women doing it. Statistically speaking, there have been studies recently that women-led businesses actually make more money than male-led businesses.
And do you know why?
Because women tend to be more organized, more clear-headed, more strategic when they are confident. When they have their confidence, all of these things do apply. It is just that it's so hard for women to get over their feeling of lack of perfection so that they actually go out there and try it and are brave enough to stay along the path. That's what's preventing most women from being successful, but they are more likely to be successful once they cross that line.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
So switching directions for a moment, today there's a lot of talk about collaboration. What are your thoughts on collaboration instead of competition?
Collaboration is the only way to go. It helps everybody. Operating out of a mindset of lack does not lead to success. So figure out what you're good at and partner with other people who have other skill sets that can enhance and help your client to a better level.
Excellent. One of the things I share with business owners, especially women, is how they can succeed without having to compete. And that can be done in a number of ways, but one of the ways that I help them is with the power of positioning themselves in a niche within their industry and becoming the expert and standing out in that area. That way, you really have no competition. No one is like you anyway, and so, even if there is another tax professional, it doesn't matter. You don't have to focus on the competition of things. Another way of doing that that I help them with is to leverage the media to build their brand. So yes. I agree, collaboration, not having to compete, it's very important. It's not necessary to compete.
Right. Yes.
So how do you think we can move forward and turn that growing number of African American women in business into successful million, multi-million, and billion-dollar businesses?
I think you're on the right path by showing people these are other people that have done it before. We need our role models out there. So I love what you're doing by highlighting these women, and that's step one. And step two is to be more encouraging and supportive of one another. A lot of times we see other entrepreneurs and we talk about them. You don't know what you're doing. If it was me, I would do it this way. Well, it's not you. This is their life and their business, and support them. Support goes such a long way.
Yes, it does. It does.
Yeah.
So what impact would you like to make, Dr. Novella, as an African-American woman in business, let's say over the next 10 years?
I am determined to show people that they have the power to grant their own wishes. And that is why I'm trying to talk to as many people and show them that you can have different stories. I've had several different stories along my life, engineer, then finance, yoga instructor. But I wanted to do all of these things, and it was okay. So my mission is to touch as many other women and other entrepreneurs and show them it doesn't have to look just one way. You control your own life, and you control your own destiny. And it's fabulous.
It is fabulous. So do you have a mentor at this juncture in your business?
I have several mentors. I have at least 6. I believe in collecting mentors.
Yeah.
So I have mentors who look like me, who don't look like me, male, female, all different ages. So
that's important to share. Thank you.
Yeah,
because you don't always have to have a mentor that looks like you or the same sex.
Right.
And do you also have a business coach at this juncture?
I do not currently have a business coach, but I've had one throughout my entrepreneurial span. So they're very important as well, like a therapist for your business.
Yes.
Yeah.
And do you have a suggestion for Black women in business on how to approach or seek a mentor?
Well, the best way is to form a relationship naturally and then ask if you want to engage in a formal kind of setup. One of the mentors that I targeted, I just asked him, would you be okay with meeting me once a month to talk about business? And he said yes. He didn't know he was agreeing to be my mentor at that time, but that's what my intention was.
Yeah. Wow.
And just realize that everyone's busy, and don't take it personally if people can only meet with you quarterly or, at short notice, because everyone's busy. So really value everyone's time and build that rapport with the individual before asking too much of them.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great nugget. And so can you share your 5 tips to success?
Yes. Be mindful. Be honest with yourself. Be strategic. Be invested in your plan, and stay motivated.
Nice. Very nice. And can you recommend 2 books that every woman should read?
Yes, The 5-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss and Nice Girls Don't Get Rich.
And how apropos and in line with you saying you don't have to work 22 hours a day.
Right.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to give back and share your journey as a woman in business, as an African-American woman in business. Is there one last nugget that you'd like to leave of inspiration?
You have the power to grant your own wishes. You just have to believe that you're worth it.
Yes. And where can listeners get more information about you?
You can find out about my business strategy services at novellusfinancial.com. And you can also go to thewealthyyogi.com to learn how I pair mindfulness with finances. Also, you can check me out at Amazon and find my book, Budgeting is More Liberation Than Limitation.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining the show today. And everyone, remember, lead with value and the revenue will follow.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.